This is a public service announcement. If you are currently an able bodied man between the ages of 20 and 35 and have a history of playing football, at least in your backyard, Liverpool Football Club is now in need of you. Thanks to our various health problems, we have now opened the doors to the public. Ever fancied having a go at Bernardo Silva? Now is your chance. Walk into the training facilities at Kirkby today for a free trial. No appointment necessary. Liverpool Football Club. You'll never walk alone, you'll never be injured alone. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast with me Seshadri, and welcome to Raw Reactions from Liverpool versus Ajax Amsterdam. Yes, we're here for Champions League matchday number 5 at Anfield. Liverpool hosting Ajax in a crucial group game, because if we win or if we at least draw this game, then we do qualify for the knockout rounds. I think if we win, we secure first place in the group as well, depending on what happens and in the other game between Atalanta and Midtjylland. But Liverpool versus Ajax, the first game at Amsterdam, was obviously a 1-0 win to Liverpool thanks to an own goal from Nicolas Tagliafico. This game, I didn't do a preview before I sort of get into the game itself. I didn't do a preview for this game because, I quite frankly, I didn't see the point of repeating a lot of what was said during the first match day between Ajax and Liverpool, because a lot of it would be repeated. I mean, yes, the only thing really that I can update you about is, where Ajax sit right now as far as their league goes, and if there's any new injuries or anything that we need to be worried about. But really, I think other than that, there's nothing else that I can say. Now, when we took on Ajax last time, I think they were second in the league behind PSV. Now 10 games have passed in the Eredivisie, and they are first in the league. They've won 9 of their 10 games, won their last 5. They're on a strong run of form, scored 42 goals, by far and away the most number of goals scored in the league. Conceded only 5, which is, again, the least conceded in the league. So obviously Ajax dominating the Dutch league, 2 points ahead of Vitesse Arnhem, who are in second place, and 4 ahead of PSV Eindhoven as well. So all in all, a pretty decent team there, on good form as well. And this is not a game that we can take lightly. This is something that we can't really sleep on. And Ajax do have the capability to get a result. Now, obviously, the last time we played, circumstances were different. They were, I guess, Liverpool as a team. I think that was the first game after Virgil van Dijk's injury, so we were still sort of coping with it. But there were still a lot of players who were still available. Unfortunately, today we've been hit with more further injury news. Alisson is not going to be starting the game today. He is being arrested as a precaution mainly. The club's official statement is that it is out. Alisson is out as a precaution due to a tight leg muscle. So muscular injuries obviously rearing their ugly head this season with the number of fixtures, especially for the big teams. I mean, you've got, I think all of them have had muscular injuries. I don't know if Spurs have been less affected, but I know even they've had some muscular injuries as well. But I think Spurs relatively have been less affected. Liverpool have had tons of injuries. Don't even need to get into it. And then obviously you've got Man City, who've had quite a few injuries themselves. Chelsea's had a few. I mean, sides in Europe have basically had their troubles with injuries this season, and you guys know what I think about the whole 5 subs rule, and how selfish or how teams like Sheffield United, for example, just look out for themselves, and you guys know how I feel about all of that stuff. But I'm not going to get into all of that right now. But let's just have a look at what the lineups are. So for those of you who don't know Raw Reactions, it is basically a recording of my live reactions from pre-game, halftime, and full-time, almost every single game. I nearly said every single game, but I realized I didn't do 2 games in the recent past. But yeah, nearly every single game I am there watching it. Even the 2 games that I missed, I did watch them. I just had some personal issues, which is why I couldn't get to doing Raw reactions or preview episodes for them. But Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I am excited for tonight's game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think the first game was a little bit. I mean, it was okay. I mean, we played okay. We didn't play great. It was the first game after Virgil van Dijk, so that obviously had a major impact. And there was a little bit of teething problems at the back. I think it was Reece Williams and Fabinho who started that game because I think Joel Matip was also out at that point. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how fragile Liverpool are. Like some of the players at Liverpool are. Joel Matip, I mean, honestly, he can't go 5 games straight without having to be benched 1 or 2 games in between. But it is what it is. We just got to deal with it. We just got to wait till January, see what the club does. We've been linked to a few centre backs in the past. Ben White mostly in the summer, Ozan Kabak as well from Schalke. Have to see how that turns out. Ben White, like I said, he did put in a very good performance against Liverpool. I personally thought he was the best Brighton player out there. Um, but it is what it is. Let's just get to Ajax's lineup now. No real surprises there. So Ajax on their Twitter account, they do this thing like Bayern Munich where they, aside from the goalkeeper, everybody else is sort of arranged based on their squad number, so which makes getting a formation quite difficult. But we've got Andre Onana in goal, no surprises there. He is their number one choice keeper. I got Pershers, Edson Alvarez, who missed the first game against Liverpool, who didn't play the first game against Liverpool, which was surprising because I actually did expect him to start that game against, because he is a very good player. Like the Mexican is a very good player. Now we've got he can play in midfield, he can play in defensive midfield, he can play in centre back. Centre back is his natural position. But we've got Pershers, who's again another centre back who's been linked to Liverpool, youngster. But I think at this point, with the injuries that we have, I don't think a youngster is what we need. If we're going for a youngster, we need someone with proven Premier League experience, which is, I think, why Ben White would sort of be my sort of front runner, because he's good in terms of, dealing with the Premier League and stuff like that, but he's not extraordinary. So, when Virgil comes back, when Joe Gomez comes back, maybe Joe Gomez might find a spot under threat, but Virgil definitely will not. But anyway, Pershers is there. I'm digressing a lot today, but it is what it is. Pershers, Edson Alvarez. They've also got Daley Blind, Nusser Mazraoui, and Tagliafico. So that's your back five. And then you've also got Davy Klaassen, who, like I mentioned previously, I think the game against Liverpool was, I think, the second time that he played since rejoining Ajax from Werder Bremen, I think. And then you got Ryan Gravenberch as well. So you got those two. And then you got Dusan Tadic, Anthony Lopez, who is a youngster that... Anthony Santos, sorry, not Anthony Lopez. Anthony Lopez is a Portuguese goalkeeper, which is a totally different player. But Anthony Santos, which is a guy number 39, for those of you who are going to be watching the game, number 39, he is someone that we need to keep an eye on because he is a very, very exciting player. Unbelievable player, and in fact, in the Football Manager save that I've got going, he's been signed by Bayern Munich, and he's had a great season for them. For those of you who are wondering, I'm managing Leipzig, but like I said, I'm digressing a lot today. It is what it is. So yeah, where are we right now? Davy Klaassen, Gravenberch are there in midfield, and then you've got Tadic, Anthony, and up front we've also got David Neres. So I would expect Tadic to play in between Neres and Anthony. I think Neres and Anthony will take the two wings, but I think it's going to be a very fluid front three because Tadic is not your typical striker. He could probably play behind as a false nine. He could probably play as a guy playing behind two out and out strikers, and there's just a whole lot of things you can do with Tadic, Anthony Santos, and David Neres. And it'll be one of the things that'll be interesting about this game is to see what Ajax actually end up doing, which for me that's going to be fascinating. On the bench, they've got Martin Stecklenburg. Some of you might remember him. He played for Everton. Sherpen, Timber, Kleiber, Huntelaar, Quincy Promes, Ekkelenkamp, Zakaria Labiat, who I would expect sometimes may actually start this game. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I mean, for a lot of these things, I'm just saying it is what it is because I honestly don't have an explanation as to why Zakaria Labiat is not starting. But you know what? I think Tadic, Anthony, and Neres have been in really good form. So, no surprises there. Martinez and Traore round out the bench for the visitors, and they will be playing in their black and gold outfits. So we'll see how it is, and then you've also got the Liverpool lineup, which is not short on surprises. I can't lie. It's definitely not short on surprises. It may be short on a lot of things because of injury, but it's definitely not short on surprises. And the biggest surprise is Caoimhin Kelleher. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Caoimhin Kelleher. I mean, it's Irish, so and they've got this weird pronunciation stuff. I'm just going to call him Caoimhin Kelleher because it's a proper noun and names get butchered. So I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Mr. Kelleher, but yeah, I'm just going to have to go with it. But he starts in goal ahead of Adrian, who would normally be the natural replacement for Allison. So big surprise there. Big night for the youngster. It's going to be a crucial night because you don't want this to go to the last game against Midtjylland. I mean, qualify now, preferably secure first place, and then just play the kids or play the backups against Midtjylland. The first team definitely needs a rest. So for me, yeah, I mean, Kelleher is a big surprise, but if the goalkeeping team and if the coaching staff think that he's ready for first team football, he's ready for Champions League football, then I'm not going to question them. I'm just going to support the guy. And honestly, after the displays that Adrian's put up, I'm just hoping this guy is going to be better. Now, I don't have great hopes because he did play the under-23 game and he was in goal when Man City put 7 past Liverpool's under-23 recently. I think it was a couple of days ago. So I'm not too enthused with the fact that he's starting a Champions League game soon after that. But if they think he's good enough, I'm just going to support him. I just hope he doesn't make any stupid mistakes. And obviously, he's going to have a better defense in front of him. So hopefully that should do him some good. Speaking of the defense, though, Neco Williams gets another start in the Champions League. I think it's just at this point a matter of pure rotation because if it was based on form, Neco Williams should be nowhere near the starting lineup. Let's just face facts. I love Neco Williams because I'm a Wales fan. I love Neco Williams. I want to see him do well. It's been a while since I've had hopes for someone who's Welsh and who is in the Liverpool first team. Ben Woodburn was the last guy. Harry Wilson was there as well. But they've sort of regressed, and I don't want to see Neco Williams going down that path. I really want to see him be, turn out really good and hopefully at least be a good second choice, someone you can rely on, when Trent can't play. But hopefully, that's down the line for him. He's had a rough start to this season whenever he's played. Took some abuse on social media, which I do not condone, obviously. And, he needs to buck up, though. He does need to pull up his socks and say, okay, I'm going to show people that I do belong to Liverpool Football Club. And partnering him in on the right side of central defense is going to be Fabinho, I would assume, Joel Matip, sorry. And then on the left side is going to be Fabinho. And on the left-hand side, left back, is going to be Robertson. So a pretty established backline, I would say. 3 of the 4 players are, well-established players. They're good players. And Joel Matip obviously had a rest against Brighton, so he should be fresh and raring to go as well. In midfield, we've got a 3 of Jordan Henderson, Gini Wijnaldum, and Curtis Jones. No surprises there. Curtis didn't play the game against Brighton, which I was quite surprised by. He is going to start this game. No surprises there, absolutely. Jordan Henderson will play the number 6 role. He's better than Wijnaldum at it. Wijnaldum's better going forward. He had a good game against Brighton. Was quiet. It was a little quiet in the first half, but definitely as the game went on, once Henderson came on in the second half, Wijnaldum was more lively, and hopefully he can keep that up as well. The front 3 is going to be Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, and Diogo Jota. So Bobby Firmino is on the bench. He needs a rest as well. I mean, it's just at this point, it's just I think at this point you just have to throw the form book out the window because I think at this point with the amount of fixtures that each team goes through, especially teams in the Champions League and the Europa League, with the amount of fixtures they go through, I think at this point it's just become a case of rest versus risk. At this point, it's just become a case of, okay, can I leave this guy out for this game without compromising too much on the result potentially? And, it's just become that. And, I kind of expected Shimikas to start this game because Klopp at the end of the last game against Brighton in the interview to BT said, if there was a five subs rule in the Premier League, Robertson would have been taken off for Shimikas. So I kind of assumed that he means that eventually Shimikas would start the Ajax game. But um, that being said, if we do wrap up qualification today, and especially if we do wrap it up with first place, which I think is unlikely because I think we're depending on Atalanta to lose to Midtjylland for that to happen. But which honestly, I don't see Gasperini's side losing that one. Um, but yeah, like I was saying, I kind of expected Simicas to start this one, but I can see why Robertson is starting because you might as well finish it off. And maybe once qualification is wrapped up, maybe for the last game against Midtjylland, then maybe we'll see the likes of, Minamino, Simicas, Origi, all these guys come in. And speaking of those three are on the bench, joined by Adrian, who is on the bench. He's also joined by another keeper, Jaros, who is a Polish keeper that John Ashterberg, I think, personally liked and brought to the club. And he's also on the bench today. So we've got two keepers on the bench. We've got Firmino, Minamino, Jake Kane, Tsimikas, Origi, Reece Williams, and Leighton Clarkson as well. Hopefully, Leighton Clarkson and Jake Kane can maybe come on for a few minutes. Hopefully, we have a comfortable enough lead that Klopp thinks that's a viable option because I do want to see the youngsters play. I like Reece Williams playing I think in a season blighted by injuries, I think that's the one sort of bright side that I can look at and say, that's something to be proud of. Same thing with Nat Phillips as well. Although to be fair, Nat Phillips isn't exactly young. But that's the lineup, by the way, for Liverpool versus Ajax. I'm excited for the game. There's about 20 minutes to kick off as of the time of recording it. I am excited for the game. I am hyped. Like, I do want qualification to be shown up. And yes, we've had troubles with injuries. Yes, we've had players missing. There was even a rumor that Alisson had COVID, which thankfully is not the case, or at least officially is not the case. I don't know how about other stuff, but at least thankfully that's not the case. And I'm just excited for this game. I'm just really excited for this game. I think a lot will depend on Kelleher because Ajax are going to get chances. I think we saw that in the last game against them at Amsterdam. Ajax are going to get chances, and Kelleher's need to going to come up good because especially that first save. I think that first save, even as an amateur keeper, speaking as an amateur keeper, that first save is so important. Like, I only play Sunday league football with like a league of 10 teams, and we play 18 times a year basically. Or we used to play this season. Obviously, since I've moved back to India, I'm not playing for them. But the last 2 years, we played 18 times a year, and in every game, I can always say that first save. If you miss that first save, and you see the ball go in the back of the net, it's a little bit worse. Like, you don't obviously, as a keeper, you don't get too affected by it because you're trained sort of, to get up and move on and get on with the next shot. I think that's just part of your training. And mentally, it doesn't affect you too much, I don't think consciously, but subconsciously, I think that first save, when you make that first save, even if it's a simple sort of catch, it's a weak shot coming straight to you, whatever the type of save, whether it's a diving save, top corner save, whatever it is, that first save is very, very important. Get the feel of the ball and stuff like that. But, I'm digressing off topic here. Like I said, 20 minutes to kick off. It's going to be exciting. I am excited. And, this pre-game stuff is by itself taken a while. It's 18 minutes. So I'll try and keep my halftime stuff short and my full-time stuff short. But, that's been Raw Reactions pre-game. I will see you back again for halftime. Right, it is halftime and it is 0-0 at Anfield, but that does not mean this was a boring game. This was probably one of the most entertaining first halves I've watched this season from Liverpool and from Ajax, to be fair. Like, right from the get-go, both sides were at it. I mentioned before in the pre-game segment that Ajax had won the last last 5 games straight, and it shows. It shows, they've hit a purple patch right now. They are flying in the league. They are, they're scoring goals. They're not conceding, and you can see why. The only sort of issue, and I mentioned this before the game when I was doing the lineups, was watching how the front line worked. And I said Anthony Santos and David Neres would be on either side of Dusan Tadic, and I expected there to be a lot of switching between the sides, but surprisingly, Neres is stuck to his left hand side, and Anthony is stuck to his right. And I mean, it's worked out really well, to be fair. Like, I mean, you can't really say that Anthony's lost out to Andy Robertson or Neres, and Neres has given Neco Williams a lot of stuff to think about. But we'll get to all of that. But it is 0-0. Liverpool came closest to scoring. Curtis Jones hit the post, I think, within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game itself. Um, Ajax had chances themselves as well. I think there was a shot from Nusayr Mazraoui, which produced a very good save from Kelleher, which, by the way, who his name I found out is pronounced as Caoimhin Kelleher, which has honestly, it has no relation to the spelling whatsoever. But it's Irish. It is what it is. It's. I mean, Irish names are weird. It's sort of like, and I know I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but it's. I've always wondered how to pronounce Saoirse Ronan. Saoirse Ronan, the actress. So yeah, it's always Irish names have always been weird. But yeah, Kelleher has had a very good game, and I'll start with him. Kelleher seems like a good place to start. He's had a good game. He's looked more assured in goal than Adrian ever did, to be completely honest with you. Yes, it's Ajax, but you have to remember the last time this guy played for the Liverpool first team was in the FA Cup last year against Shrewsbury Town. So from Shrewsbury to Ajax, more than a year's gap. It's a big step up. It's a big ask, and yes, he has your Fabinho's and your Joel Matip's in front of him, but honestly, this guy so far he's done enough to prove that he can be the number two. And I think the one thing that this whole injury crisis has shown is that there are options at the club now. Nat Phillips may not be your typical elegant ball playing defender, but he's done a good job so far whenever he's been there. And honestly, as a fourth choice, I don't mind Nat Phillips at the club. Even under normal circumstances. That's not to say that we don't need a centre back in January. We probably do, because we've lost Joe Gomez for pretty much the entire season. So maybe someone on loan, maybe, but that's a whole other discussion. But the point I'm trying to make is Kelleher had a very, very good game for Liverpool today in goal. Made some really good saves, looked very assured in goal. His distribution was really good as well. And I'm pleasantly surprised by the fact that he's good with both his feet, his left and his right. And it appears as if his right is a stronger foot, but his left is not bad. Like, he does distribute fairly decently with his left as well. I don't remember too many misplaced passes from him. Even the long range ones. Neco Williams, I would say, has been the worst of the Liverpool players overall, but even his performance, if you're just looking at him in isolation without comparing him to the other 10 players in the Liverpool lineup, I would say that he has been average at best, maybe below average, slightly below average at worst. He's sort of hovering in that. If I was to give him a rating, sort of like Football Manager does, he's sort of hovering in that 6.1, 6.4, 6.1 to 6.4 range. Which, for those of you who don't know, Football Manager gives you ratings up to 10, and if anything above a 6.8, you're having a really good game. So 6.1 to 6.4 is kind of what I'd give Neco Williams. Couple of misplaced passes, couple of times he got caught out by David Neres, but on the flip side, he did have a few good moments. I think he had one really good challenge on David Neres as well. His crosses need to be more accurate. He needs to find the target a little bit more, which I thought he didn't. And I think none of his crosses found the target, really. Backline, Fabinho has been mightily impressive. Honestly, again, I'm just going to go with the Football Manager rating system. I'm honestly going to give him a 7 out of 10 so far. He's been mighty impressive. Maybe even a 7.5 out of 10. Unbelievable. His sense of tackling, his instinct as to when to put his foot out or when to commit, it's brilliant. I mean, Fabinho is one of the best defensive midfielders, but he looks quite at home at centre back as well. Joel Matip, for his part, has done well. Some of his passes have been really good, especially the ones where he goes through the lines, bypasses the entire midfield, goes straight to Salah, Jota or Mane. They've been really good. Same with Fabinho as well. Fabinho's long balls have also been quite good. Henderson and Curtis Jones, for me, in midfield, these two have been really, really good. Not, I mean, obviously their passing game is something else, but Curtis Jones, this is what Curtis Jones is capable of. He's capable of being the engine of the midfield, and this is kind of what Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain used to do before his ACL injury, and he can be the driving force. He can be the guy driving into the front line, into the attacking third with with intent, with purpose, and he can make things happen. And I think Curtis, for some reason, has been a little bit withdrawn in games past, but I think I'm hoping this is a turning point. I'm hoping this, not just to fans but also shows himself what what he's capable of. Like, he genuinely needs to know that. And Henderson, his late runs have been really, really good. He's obviously kept the tempo up. Him and Wijnaldum have sort of been rotating a little bit. Not much, really. Not. In fact, it's not even worth mentioning. I think Henderson's just been the six for like most of this half, except for like brief periods where Wijnaldum would drop in and Henderson would go back up. But I think Henderson's done really well. Gini Wijnaldum as well. Very, very solid game. I'm not going to say he's had an amazing game because clearly he hasn't. I think Curtis was easily the best out of the three midfielders. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's had a solid game. Wijnaldum's not been too bad. Although I will say he does defensively. I think he could help out Neco Williams a little bit more than he does. I think because on the other side, Henderson does a lot more for Andy Robertson. So yeah, that's kind of my only thing with Wijnaldum. But honestly, it's such a minor thing, really, because he does help out. I just feel like he could do a little bit more. That's all. I feel like he's not fully there yet. And as far as the front three goes, I thought they were impressive. The movement, especially on the left hand side between Mane and Jota, was very, very impressive. Salah looked a little isolated at times because of all this, but it's not too bad. It's not to the point where you'd say he's completely uninvolved in the game or something like that. But he's been really good, and all three of them, Salah, Mane, and Diogo Jota, they've been really good. Jota obviously had a few very good moments. A little bit iffy on the decision making, I'll give you that, because there were a couple of times where it was a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1, and one time his touch let him down. So I'm not going to blame him too much on that. But the other time he could have played Salah through or Curtis Jones through, and this was closer towards the end of the half that I'm referring to. And he just kind of, I don't quite know what he was going for, because I think he tried to take the defender on his own, and he just lost out because of a bad touch once again. So a little iffy on the final decision making. Salah was obviously frustrated by that because Salah was open. I think it was a 3-on-2, and Salah was open because both the defenders were converging on Diogo Jota, and on the other side it was Curtis Jones. So if Jota passes that, he's got an assist to his name, but unfortunately he didn't. Yeah, it's a little iffy. He's been in really good form, but I feel like he could do a little bit better today. Sadio Mane has been really good. Same with Salah as well. No real comments there. As for Ajax, honestly, the player that I've been most impressed with, the players rather that I've been most impressed with, because it can't just be one person given how Ajax has played. From a defensive standpoint, Per Schuurs, I think if this is his audition for Liverpool, obviously, you're not going to go by just one game when you're scouting a player, and when you want to buy him for your team, you're not just going to go by one game. But Per Schuurs, if this is sort of his main audition tape, then he's got a ton of highlights. His speed, his athleticism, especially that one sort of through ball where he kept up with Sadio Mane and then won a goal kick for Ajax. I thought it was really impressive. I thought it summed up the potential that was there for Per Schuurs, and he would definitely make a very good centre back for Liverpool, given the way we play. The only question is, who does he replace? Maybe Nat Phillips, because Per Schuurs would be a much better fourth centre back than Nat Phillips. But would Per Schuurs be happy being a fourth centre back? I think that's all these are questions that will come up if he signs or if he's linked to us. But definitely he's performed brilliantly tonight, and then you've also got Edson Alvarez. I think Edson Alvarez, there was a little bit of an issue at the start where he would drop back into defense, sort of making it a five at the back. But I think what Ajax realized was they would gain more out of pressing Liverpool's midfield. So they sort of did a little bit of what Atalanta do, or they and have done, to be honest. They went to a man mark press where but they did it only with the midfield, and sometimes they did it a few times with Diogo Jota as well. So it's not a look that you've never seen before. But the midfield three of Curtis, Henderson, and Wijnaldum were pressed really, really high, and part of the reason for that is Edson Alvarez going up front. Not up front as in he pushes further into midfield. He sort of became a full-fledged midfielder, and he established, I guess, the baseline for pressure. The last line for midfield pressure, I guess, if you want to call it that. And he sort of became less and less involved between the two centre backs, which is Daley Blind and Pershers, obviously. But I mean, I really thought Edson Alvarez was quite impressive in his role in midfield. Maybe not the most natural for him, but he's definitely very good at it. As for other players who I was impressed with from Ajax, I thought Gravenberch did quite well. David Neres and Anthony Santos, no questions. They were quite brilliant. Anthony skied his shot a little bit, didn't connect properly, but I really thought he had an opening where he could have maybe tested Kelleher a lot more than maybe other shots did or other instances did. Dusan Tadic, a relatively quiet game, but he did grow into the game as it went on. I think Ajax grew more and more in confidence, and they grew more and more into the game. So no real impact yet from Dusan Tadic, but don't be surprised if it does come about. Nusayr Mazraoui has been very, very impressive on the right hand side. I forgot to mention him at the start. Pershers, initially they weren't covering the half spaces, which is where Diogo Jota and Sadio Mane made their living at the start of the half. But Mazraoui got really good at it, and Edson Alvarez also provided adequate cover for these guys. So, I mean, Ajax as a whole, I'm very, very impressed. I think they look a lot sharper than they did on matchday number 1. They look a lot better than they did on matchday number 1. Their passing's crisper. They're moving the ball about well. They're moving personnel very well, both with and without the ball. And I think offensively, the only thing that I would say is for Ajax, some of their movement in the final third off the ball is a second too late. I think whether that's because they're scared of the offside trap or something, I don't quite understand. Maybe it is. But definitely if they make some of those runs, maybe a second before, they probably get past that defense. And Neres has shown it, especially on the left-hand side with where he's up against Neco Williams, that he can actually get past. But that's been halftime from me with the analysis. Obviously, this one's actually going for a while, this Raw Reactions episode. It's going to go for a while. I think it's half an hour already. But hopefully at full time, the score is at least 0-0, if not, a Liverpool win. In the other game, it is, I think Midtjylland were leading. The second half has started as I speak, and Midtjylland are leading 1-0 thanks to a goal from Alexander Scholz. So that does open up possibilities for Liverpool, and it's very, very different. The group looks very different right now with Midtjylland winning. Atalanta's on 7 points as of this moment, Ajax on 8, and Liverpool on 10, which means there's a lot to play for going into the final day against Midtjylland. But yeah, that's a draw will do for us. So I'm not worried too much about that. I do want the top spot though, because you don't want to be stuck being a second seed and potentially playing a big team right in the second round itself. But yeah, that's been my take on Liverpool versus Ajax so far. The first half. I will see you back again at full time, hopefully with positive news and 3 points. Right, it is full time from Anfield, and Liverpool are through to the round of 16 and through as group winners. 1-0 victory against Ajax Amsterdam means next week against Midtjylland is essentially for us a dead rubber because we are assured of being top of the group. And yeah, nothing. I mean, thank God for that because honestly, we can play our backups for that game, backups and the kids for that game. But yeah, I mean, amazing performance in the second half from both sides, really. I mean, really good football from both sides. Curtis Jones coming up with the winner, Neco Williams with the assist. A much improved second half from Neco Williams, honestly. I really thought he did well. Neco Williams was good defensively, was good offensively. I mean, the second half was a much better performance and much more representative of what Neco Williams could do and has done at times. And hopefully he builds on this and hopefully he can move on. But the story of the game was Caoimhin Kelleher, man. What a game this lad has had. Called up to replace Allison because Allison cannot play. Called up instead of Adrian. First game in over a year, or almost a year at least, and absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I mean, this man, he produced, I guess, some really good saves. I mean, the first half obviously he had that save from Nusser Mazraoui's shot, and then second half was just he looked assured in goal. He looked confident. He commanded his area really well. Came out for balls that he should be coming out for. Came out for crosses that he should be coming out for. Very assured handling, and yeah, I mean it was just brilliant. And obviously the cherry on the cake, cherry on top of the cake was the save from Klaas Jan Huntelaar, where point blank range header. Huntelaar should be scoring. A striker of his experience, of his sort of finishing ability, really. This is a striker who's known for that. Klaas Jan Huntelaar is known for his finishing ability, and for Kelleher to come up with that save, it was brilliant. On the flip side, a few questions about our defensive marking. I thought we played a really good game, but if I had to pick out a negative, I think that's the one thing because there were multiple occasions through the game where our centre backs, Fabinho and Matip, they either had someone in between them or Klaassen was making runs from midfield which weren't being tracked. Now, whether that's the job of the midfielders to track the run or the centre backs to alert or be alerted about the run, I don't quite know what's going on. But there were instances where I felt like communication could have been better, when it came to the defense. And yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it was a really good game. Yeah, I'm sorry if this segment of it is short. Part of it is because the other two segments were quite long, and the other thing is it's what time is it right now? It's 3:30 right now here in India, and I have a splitting headache because I need to sleep. But you know what? Let's just get on with it. Let's just finish this off. The goal itself, Neco Williams cross, Andre Onana. Look, it happens to the best of us. That's all I can say. Misjudged the flight of the ball and just completely lost it. Just completely lost it. I mean, if he had stayed on his line, because Curtis, the angle from which Curtis took that shot wasn't easy. Like, if the keeper was on his line, that's an easy save because it's coming straight to you. Because he was off and because he went going for a ball which he really shouldn't have been going for because it was much further out to his right than what he thought, and it was much higher up than what he thought, and he just completely misjudged it. And Curtis took full advantage. Curtis kept his eye on the ball, did essentially what Onana should have been doing. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Brilliant performance from both sides, really. I mean, overall, I think we edged the game, but Ajax did have their moments. Ajax hit the post as well early on. I think Anthony Santos took a shot. Kelleher came up with another really good save. The shot was going towards the far post. It was a good save, but he sort of parried it right into David Neres. And if it wasn't for Neco Williams sort of sliding in last moment and sort of throwing David Neres off a little bit, I do think Neres would have scored that one. I do think Ajax would have been the one to take the lead. Unfortunately, he hit the post, and I think the ball went out or went back into the field of play in a safe area, really. But yeah, I mean, it was quite a performance from Liverpool. Very assured, very good, very attractive, and very Liverpool. I think that's what was missing from the game last week, where we just looked dull. We looked bereft of ideas. We looked empty, and we looked like we were running on reserve, and it didn't feel right. And this week we played really well against Brighton as well. We played quite well. I mean, wasn't as good as this, but it was okay. But yeah, this game was vintage Liverpool, and I think we were helped by the fact that Ajax wanted to play as well. They didn't want to come and sit back. They didn't want to, fair play to them. They weren't scared. They were not scared, and honestly, a lot of players, their quality shone through. Nusser Mazraoui, Pershus in defense as well. And then in midfield, you had Davy Klaassen, who had quite a good game. Should have scored as well. Missed a point-blank header. I think he thought he was inside the near post area when he was just outside. It's not in line really, and he headed it wide. And he had a very good game. Didn't quite click at Everton, but he's doing well at Ajax. Didn't quite click at Bremen as well. And then, of course, you had Dusan Tadic did well. Anthony Santos did well. Anthony Santos, I'm pretty sure in the next few years, he's going to have big suitors coming after him. Same with David Neres. He's already been capped by Brazil. That shows you how good Neres is. Did well to come off an injury last year, and, he's doing well today. Then, of course, you have Andre Onana. He's been their standout goalkeeper for the last few years. Made a mistake today. Unfortunate, happens to the best of us, like I said, but he is a good keeper, and he immediately rectified his mistake with that one-on-one save on Mo Salah, and then he had another really good one. I think I don't remember who hit the shot, but it was a really, really good save from him. But yeah, I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little dull. I'm just quite sleepy at this point. Not much to analyze really. Except that I think our right-hand side, I mentioned the first half that David Neres was taking a lot of advantage of it. I think in the second half, what Klopp did was Curtis was given more of a license to, go forward and not mind defensive responsibility as much, if I can say that. And it sort of went into a double pivot with Wijnaldum and Henderson at times. At times, Wijnaldum would play the sole pivot, Henderson would go forward, and Henderson moving out more to the right-hand side helped with containing David Neres, I thought. And that was a really good move as well. It was nice to see the youngsters. It was a night for the youngsters. Alan Hansen said, you don't win anything with kids, but Liverpool today won the game, won qualification as group leaders to the next round with kids. Reece Williams also came on late on in the game. Curtis Jones scored the goal. Neco Williams with the assist. I mean, if they perform like this, the future is bright. Let's just keep it that way. But yeah, I mean that's been this has been a very short full-time part of Raw Reactions. Partly because I don't have much to criticize. Partly because I don't have much to say. It was just a really good game from everyone on both sides. And Liverpool came out 1-0 winners, 2-0 on aggregate against Ajax. But yeah. I mean, I thought it was a really good performance, and hopefully this continues against Wolves this weekend. We have a game on Sunday against Wolverhampton, and I'm trying to get someone from Wolves, someone who's a Wolves fan to sort of do the podcast, but I don't quite know if that's going to happen. Otherwise, it's just going to be my previews again. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the episodes that I do put out, and thank you for all your support on the podcast. Have a good day, have a great day, have a great week. Stay safe, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.